On Christmas Eve, Emily decided to stay with the most rejected man in the office just to avoid spending the night alone. But she didn't expect what was about to happen. Emily stepped out of the office building and stood on the sidewalk. The street felt cold against her face. She noticed the Christmas lights hanging above the street. They were red, green, and yellow. Small groups of people passed by, talking in low voices or hurrying toward buses and cars. She wore a thin jacket and felt the chill on her skin. She did not have anywhere special to go tonight. The idea of going home alone bothered her. She looked across the street and saw a family holding hands. They pointed at a large decorated tree near the corner. Emily tried to ignore them. She forced herself to focus on the pavement. The last thing she wanted was to think about her own family. Years ago, when she was a child, her parents had fought on Christmas Eve. She remembered shouting voices, the sound of a chair scraping the floor, and her mother crying afterward. The memory made her stomach feel tight. She worked in a small financial consulting firm. She spent her days handling spreadsheets, checking calculations, and preparing reports for clients. She had a decent salary, but not enough to feel comfortable. She lived alone in a cramped apartment with bare walls. There were no pets, no decorations, no soft furniture. It was a place to sleep and store her clothes. She never invited anyone over. Earlier that day, everyone in the office talked about their holiday plans. They bragged about flying home or meeting old friends. They discussed secret family recipes or last-minute gifts. Emily listened quietly. She never mentioned her own plans. She did not want them to know she would spend the night alone. Her boss insisted that all employees participate in the office's Secret Santa. Emily played along, choosing a random gift for someone she barely knew. She opened a cheap mug someone had given her, smiled politely, and said nothing. Being the only black woman in that office made her feel uneasy. She often caught odd looks or heard whispers. She never knew if people judged her for her background or something else. Over time, she learned to keep her head down. She stuck to her tasks and avoided social events after work. On a normal day, she would rush home and lock her door. But today was Christmas Eve. Going home alone felt worse than usual. As the day ended, most of the staff hurried off. Some rushed to meet family members at airports. Others carried wrapped boxes, calling out holiday greetings to each other. Emily lingered by her desk, pretending to be busy on her computer. She watched them leave, one by one, until the office became quiet. She heard the cleaning staff chatting in the hallway. Eventually, even they left. When she finally stood to leave, she saw Michael at the far end of the room. He was a tall, quiet man who worked in data entry. He never joined the others at lunch. He rarely spoke above a whisper. Emily knew the others called him strange behind his back. She remembered jokes about his old jacket and outdated phone. Some co-workers said he smelled weird. Others said he never looked anyone in the eye. Emily had never joined these conversations. She had only smiled awkwardly and said nothing. Now Michael stood alone, packing papers into a worn briefcase. He did not rush. He did not seem to expect anyone to talk to him. Emily took a step closer, then stopped. She felt uncomfortable. She considered leaving, but the idea of her empty apartment pulled at her chest. She thought about walking home, warming a can of soup, and lying on her old mattress, staring at the ceiling. That plan seemed miserable. She looked at Michael again. He put on his coat and picked up his briefcase. He walked toward the door, glancing down at the floor. Emily took a breath and moved toward him. She did not know what to say. Her heart beat fast. She felt nervous for no reason. She forced her voice to come out steady. "Hey," she said. Her voice was quiet. She tried again. "Michael, are you heading out now?" He stopped and turned. He looked at her with mild surprise. "Yes," he said simply. The office felt cold now. Emily tried not to stare at the dirty rug or the empty desks around them. She tried to smile, but her face felt stiff. "Do you have plans for tonight?" she asked. She hated how awkward she sounded. Michael shrugged. "No plans," he said. "I'll probably just grab something to eat." He paused. "You?" Emily swallowed. "I'm not sure." She said this knowing it sounded odd. Everyone had plans tonight, right? "I guess I didn't set anything up." She looked at him, trying to read his expression. He looked calm, maybe a bit puzzled. She glanced at the floor. "This might sound strange," she said. "I don't really want to spend Christmas Eve by myself. If you're not meeting anyone, maybe we could, I don't know, get dinner." Her voice sounded uncertain. She wanted to take the words back, but it was too late. Michael said nothing for a moment. She expected him to frown or laugh or just walk away. Instead, he nodded once. "Sure," he said. "I don't have anything better to do. We can get something to eat." He didn't smile, but he didn't seem annoyed either. Emily nodded. "Okay," she said quietly. She wondered if he understood why she asked. Maybe he did not care. Maybe he was lonely too. She tried not to think about it too hard. All that mattered was that she would not walk back to that empty apartment right now. They walked together toward the elevator. The hallway was silent. She heard the hum of the lights overhead. She held her coat close and thought about the quiet night ahead. As the elevator doors closed, she felt unsure about what would happen next, but at least she would not be alone. They stepped out into the cold street and walked side by side. Emily zipped her jacket up and looked ahead. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. Cars passed slowly through the decorated streets. She could hear distant holiday music from a store's speakers. The air smelled like roasted chestnuts and car exhaust. Michael did not seem to notice the decorations. He kept his head down and walked at a steady pace. Emily wondered if he felt awkward too. She decided to say something simple. "Do you live near here?" she asked. He nodded. "A few blocks away," he said. "My apartment is small, but it's quiet." He looked up for a moment. "We could eat there if you want, or we can find a place open late." Emily hesitated. Going back to a stranger's apartment felt odd. Then again, sitting alone in a busy restaurant might feel worse. She took a breath. "Your place is fine," she said. "I don't need anything fancy." Michael led the way. They turned a corner and passed a row of parked cars. Emily noticed a man carrying a large gift box, hurrying into a taxi. She glanced at Michael. "So, do you usually spend Christmas Eve alone?" Her words came out flat, but she wanted to know. He shrugged. "Most years, yes. I don't have family around here. No close friends either. People at work don't really talk to me." His tone was even, not angry or sad. Emily pressed her lips together. She felt a slight ache in her chest. She knew what it felt like to be on the outside. She decided not to push. "I'm sorry," she said. She meant it, though it sounded weak. They reached an older building with chipped paint on the doorframe. Michael pulled out a key and opened a metal door that led to a narrow hallway. The lights inside were dim, and the floor creaked. Emily followed him up 2 flights of stairs. They passed a neighbor carrying groceries who nodded but didn't speak. At the apartment door, Michael unlocked it and stepped inside. He flicked a switch on the wall. The living room was small. There was a couch, a small TV on a stand, and a coffee table with a few papers scattered on it. A simple kitchen area was visible behind a half wall. There were no Christmas decorations. It smelled like old books and maybe coffee. Emily looked around. It was cleaner than she expected. She had assumed he might live in a place full of clutter and dust, but it looked fine. Just plain and quiet. She took off her jacket and held it in her arms. Michael set his briefcase by the couch. He turned toward her. "I have some instant noodles, maybe some canned soup, and a few eggs," he said. "I'm not a great cook, but we can try to put something together." His voice sounded almost apologetic. Emily let out a short breath. "That's fine," she said. "I'm not picky." She walked toward the kitchen, running her hand lightly along the back of the couch. "Do you have any plates and utensils?" He nodded and opened a cupboard. "Yeah, I have some clean dishes." He pulled out 2 bowls and a couple of forks and spoons. While he filled a small pot with water, Emily leaned against the counter. She tried to think of something normal to say. "So, how long have you worked at the company?" she asked. Michael tapped the stove's burner until the gas caught flame. "About 3 years," he said. He turned to face her. "You?" "2 years," Emily said. "I handle financial reports, mostly. Nothing exciting." She looked at him. "I guess we never really talked much." He nodded once. "Yeah, I noticed." She felt a little sting at his words, but he didn't sound accusing. He sounded calm, maybe resigned. She looked down at the floor. The silence stretched. She heard the water in the pot starting to heat up. They prepared the instant noodles quietly. Michael added an egg to each bowl. He set the bowls on the small kitchen table. Emily pulled out a chair and sat down. It felt strange to be in his home, eating something so simple with a man she barely knew. But it felt better than being alone in her apartment. "Thank you," she said, lifting her spoon. She tasted the noodles. They were salty and hot. She felt the warmth spread through her. "This is better than I expected," she admitted. Michael took a bite and shrugged. "Glad it's okay," he said. He focused on his bowl for a few moments, then looked at her. "Why are you alone tonight?" "I mean, if you don't mind me asking." Emily hesitated. She tapped her foot against the chair leg. "I don't have a lot of friends here," she said. "My family is complicated. Holidays bring up memories I'd rather ignore." She saw him watching her with a neutral expression. "I didn't have any real plans." He nodded slowly. "Makes sense," he said. He swallowed his food and set his spoon down. "I guess we're both in a similar spot. People don't understand that not everyone has a big party to go to." Emily stared at her bowl. "Yeah," she said. She kept her voice low. "I guess so." They ate in silence for a while. She could hear the faucet dripping slightly. The room was warm enough. She noticed a small crack in the wall paint. She noticed Michael's shoes by the door, neatly lined up. She realized she had expected chaos, but found order instead. When they finished, Emily helped him rinse the bowls. She rolled up her sleeves and scrubbed them in the small sink. He dried them and put them away. Neither of them spoke during this task, but the silence felt less tense now. Once done, they sat in the living room. Michael leaned back on the couch. Emily took a seat on a small chair facing him. She rubbed her hands together, unsure of what came next. The night stretched ahead. She felt uneasy thinking about the time passing slowly, but at least it was not total emptiness. He cleared his throat. "So, do you celebrate at all?" he asked. "I mean, do you ever visit your family?" Emily tightened her jaw. "Not really," she said. "It's been a while. Maybe someday I will. But not right now." She said it quickly, hoping he wouldn't press further. He nodded. He seemed to understand. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "We don't have to talk about it," he said. "We can just sit here, maybe watch something on TV." Emily nodded, grateful for the offer. She didn't know what tomorrow might bring, but at least tonight she wasn't alone. They sat in the small living room with the TV on but muted. The screen showed a holiday special, people singing, a happy crowd, a tree with bright lights. Emily ignored it. She tapped her fingers on the armrest. Michael sat quietly, his eyes on the floor. She cleared her throat. "Michael, can I ask you something?" she said. Her voice was low. "Why do people at the office avoid you?" He looked up, surprised by her direct question. "They think I'm strange," he said. "Maybe I don't fit in. I don't talk much. I guess I never tried." She nodded, feeling a knot in her stomach. "I never tried either," she said softly. She avoided his eyes. She remembered sitting at her desk, pretending not to notice the whispered jokes about him. She remembered biting her lip when someone snickered at his worn-out shoes. She never joined them, but she never stood up for him. Now that felt heavy. "I'm sorry," she said, voice trembling. "I know people make fun of you. I didn't say anything." She managed to look at him. He watched her with a calm expression. "I should have stopped it, but I didn't. I just wanted to blend in." Michael shrugged one shoulder. "It's done," he said. He spoke without anger. "It happens everywhere. I'm used to it." He leaned back, crossing his arms. "At least you never teased me yourself." Emily's throat felt tight. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She wanted to admit her guilt. She remembered small smiles, tiny reactions that encouraged the others. Maybe she never teased him directly, but she hadn't defended him either. She couldn't bring herself to say it now. She felt shame rising inside. She changed the subject. "Do you miss your family?" she asked. Her voice sounded awkward. "I guess," Michael said. "But I haven't seen them in years. We're not close." He didn't elaborate. Emily stared at the TV. The scene changed to a family around a big dinner table. She turned away from it. She felt her phone vibrate in her jacket pocket. She fished it out, noticing a message from her mother. "Are you coming or not?" The words made her jaw clench. She hadn't visited her parents in a long time. She avoided them each Christmas Eve. She blamed their fights for ruining her holidays, but now, sitting here, she felt uncertain. She frowned at her phone. Her mother's message sat there on the screen. Emily inhaled through her nose, exhaled slowly. She thought about the past. She remembered standing near the Christmas tree as a child, hearing her father yell. She felt sick. She locked the phone and set it aside. Michael watched her. "Is that your family?" he asked gently. She nodded, pressing her lips together. "They want me to come over," she said. "But I don't want to face them." She rubbed her palms on her jeans. "We had problems. Holidays bring up bad memories." Michael looked at the floor for a moment. "I understand," he said. "But sitting here won't change that." Emily swallowed hard. Her shoulders tensed. "I know," she said, "but I'm not ready." Her voice cracked. She felt tears threatening. She didn't want to cry in front of him. She tried to hold it in. She failed. Tears slid down her cheeks. She wiped them quickly. "It's okay," he said softly. "You can stay here until you decide." Emily tried to steady herself. She sat up straighter and sniffed. "Thanks," she said, her voice rough. She looked around the room. She noticed a small photo frame on a shelf. A younger Michael stood next to a woman who might have been his mother. Emily wondered what happened to them. She shifted in her seat. "I don't know why I'm here," she admitted. "I guess I didn't want to be alone. But I'm using you, right?" She let out a nervous laugh. "Sorry. This is so weird." Michael's face remained calm. "We're both alone," he said. "You're not forcing me to do anything. I invited you in. I could have said no." He paused, then added, "I know what it's like to feel shut out." She nodded. Her pulse slowed a bit. She appreciated his honesty. Still, guilt pressed on her chest. She looked at her phone again. She thought about calling her mother back. The idea made her shoulders tense again, but some part of her knew she might do it. Maybe not right now, but soon. They sat in silence for a minute or two. The TV flickered, changing scenes. She could hear someone laughing on the show, but the sound was muted. Just moving lips and fake smiles. Eventually, Emily cleared her throat. She stood up. Her legs felt a bit shaky. She took a few steps toward the door, then paused. She didn't actually want to leave. She just didn't know what to do with herself. Michael spoke quietly. "You don't have to run," he said. "If you want to go, that's fine. But if you're just afraid, maybe stay." She turned to face him. She tried to form words. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "I'm afraid of facing my family. I'm afraid of what they'll say, how they'll look at me." Her voice came out thin and strained. "But staying here might not help. I can't hide forever." Michael nodded. He didn't say anything else, just waited. She walked back to the chair and sat down. She felt drained. Her eyes burned from crying. She wrapped her arms around herself, wishing she had answers. She took a shaky breath. "I'm sorry for dragging you into this," she said. "I know this is supposed to be a holiday, and I'm just dumping my problems on you." Michael lifted one hand, a small gesture. "It's fine," he said. "I don't mind." Emily tried to smile, but her lips only twitched. She looked at the TV again. The holiday special ended, cutting to a commercial for a travel agency. She stared at it without focusing. Her thoughts swirled. She would have to face her fears soon. She knew that. But at least she wasn't facing them alone tonight. Emily sat on the chair, breathing slowly. The TV showed a new program now. Some late-night news show with a scrolling headline. She looked at Michael, who rested his hands on his knees and waited quietly. "I never really thought I'd end up here," she said. "I mean, in your apartment on Christmas Eve. This is not how I imagined my life." He nodded once. "I didn't expect company tonight," he said. "But you're welcome here. It's fine." She looked around at the plain walls and the small furniture. It all seemed ordinary. She felt her heart beating a bit slower now. "You keep your place neat," she said, trying to break the tension. "I expected something else, I guess." Michael shrugged. "I don't own much," he said. "I keep it simple." Emily folded her hands in her lap. "I'm sorry if I offended you by showing up like this and using you as a way to avoid my own problems," she said. She kept her voice calm. "I know I'm hiding here." Michael met her eyes. "You told me you're afraid," he said. "I get it. I know what it's like to avoid people. At least now you're honest about it." She inhaled deeply. I haven't always been honest, she said. Back at the office, I never really tried to know you. I listened to people talk behind your back. I never told them to stop. I just wanted them to leave me alone. I didn't think about how you felt. She clenched her jaw. That was wrong. He tapped his fingers on his knee. People ignore me all the time, he said. It's not your fault, but I appreciate that you admit it. Emily nodded, feeling a slight pressure in her chest. Still, she said, I regret it. They sat quietly for a moment. She could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator. Her phone lay on the table beside the chair, dark and silent now. She stared at it. She knew that her mother's message was still there, waiting. Are you going to call them? Michael asked, nodding toward the phone. Your family, I mean. She picked up the phone and turned it over in her hand. I'm not sure, she said. They asked if I'm coming. I haven't been home in a long time. She tightened her grip on the device. What if nothing changed? What if it's still bad? Michael leaned forward slightly. You don't know unless you try, he said. I know it's hard, but sitting here all night won't answer that question. Emily sighed. You're right, she said. I don't feel ready. She checked the time on her phone's screen. It was getting late. If she planned on going, she had to decide soon. She realized Michael had no reason to keep her here. He could have suggested she leave and go deal with it. But he remained quiet, letting her work through it. She stood up and took a few steps toward the window. The glass was cool against her fingertips. She looked down at the street. A car passed slowly. A man walked his dog. She tried to steady her breath. I never got along with my parents, she said. As a kid, I remember them yelling. Every holiday was tense. Every year, I just waited for it to end. I guess I never got over that. I feel stupid about it. Michael came closer, stopping a few feet behind her. It's not stupid, he said. Bad memories stay with you. Nobody can force you to fix that overnight. Emily nodded. She closed her eyes, then opened them again. I called you strange before. In my head, she said, her voice low. I judged you without knowing you. Tonight I see that you're just a person, like me, trying to get by. I guess I was afraid of being judged myself. He was silent for a second, then answered, Most people don't bother to look deeper. I'm used to it. She felt a lump in her throat. She wanted to say something kind, something that proved she was different now. But words felt weak. Instead, she turned around and sat down again. She picked up her phone and held it tight. Can I stay a bit longer? She asked. I need to think. Michael nodded. Sure, he said. I'm not kicking you out. They returned to the living room area. She sat on the chair, and he sat on the couch. She noticed his shoulders were relaxed, not tense. He seemed patient, like he had no place else to be. She wondered if he spent every night in this quiet apartment, just passing time alone. Do you mind if I check if you have something warm to drink? Emily asked. She felt a dry feeling in her throat. He shook his head. Go ahead, he said. I think I have some hot chocolate mix in the cupboard. She walked into the kitchen area, opened a few doors, and found a box of cocoa powder. She also found a small pot and heated water on the stove. The flame hissed quietly. She stirred the powder into 2 mugs. When she carried them back, Michael took his mug and nodded in thanks. He sipped it carefully. She sat again, holding her mug close. She blew on it and tasted it. It was sweet and warm. This is nice, she said. Better than sitting alone in my empty apartment. He took another sip. Yeah, he agreed. It's okay to admit you needed someone. Everyone needs someone sometimes. Emily swallowed another mouthful of cocoa. It warmed her from the inside. She looked at the clock on the wall, then at her phone. She thought about calling her mother right now, but fear still held her back. She decided to wait a few more minutes. Maybe in a moment she would find the courage. For now, she would sit here and drink her cocoa. She would try not to think too hard about the past or the future. She had taken a step by facing Michael's presence and admitting her faults. That was something. Thanks for letting me stay, she said quietly. Michael nodded. It's fine, he said again. They both faced the muted TV screen, which showed a reporter talking silently. Outside, the world kept moving, but here it felt still. Emily sipped her hot chocolate and tapped her foot lightly against the floor. The warmth of the drink helped calm her nerves. She glanced at Michael, who sat on the couch with his mug in hand. He stared at the TV, his eyes unfocused. She cleared her throat. I think I'm going to call them, she said. Her voice was steady, but her palms felt damp. I should at least say something, even if I don't go. Michael nodded. If that's what you want, he said. Do it. Emily stared at her phone for a few seconds. She pressed the call button and waited. The phone rang twice before her mother picked up. Emily, her mother said. Her tone sounded surprised. Emily swallowed. Yeah, it's me, she said, trying not to let her voice shake. Look, about tonight. I haven't decided if I'm coming yet. I just wanted to let you know I'm thinking about it. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully. I know it's late, but I might try to stop by. Her mother paused. We would like to see you, she said. There was no anger, just a slight hesitation. Your father's here too. The door's open if you want to come. Emily nodded to herself. Okay, she said. I'll let you know soon. She hung up before she could change her mind. She exhaled and set the phone on the table. Her shoulders felt stiff. She had no idea how the evening would end. She looked at Michael. I told them I might come, she said. I guess that's a start. He took a sip of cocoa. It is, he said. You didn't have to do that, but you did. Emily leaned back in her chair. She felt a dull ache in her stomach. I'm scared, she admitted. But maybe if I show up, I can see if anything changed. Maybe they're not the same people I remember. Michael nodded, not saying anything. He let her have that moment. She rubbed her eyes and sighed. You know, she said, I've been thinking, I judged you, and I never gave you a chance. Now I'm here, and you've been patient. It's not fair that you get treated badly for no reason. Michael shrugged. People have their reasons, he said, but I'm glad you're seeing me differently now. Emily thought about the office. She remembered her co-workers and how they whispered. She realized that none of them knew Michael as a person. They just saw someone different and decided to push him aside. She had let it happen. I can't change what I did, she said, but I'm sorry. He nodded once. Apology accepted, he said simply. They sat quietly for a moment, both holding their mugs. Emily finished her hot chocolate and placed the empty mug on the table. She wiped her hands on her jeans, feeling the tension in her neck. Her mind drifted to her parents' house. She imagined the living room, the dim lamps, the kitchen where her mother cooked. She remembered the thick tension in the air from years before. She remembered standing in a corner, hoping it would all just end. She did not know if things had improved. Maybe they learned to speak without yelling. Maybe they just stopped talking at all. Still, it was Christmas Eve. Everyone else was with someone, trying to make the most of it. Maybe it was time she tried too. Michael got up and walked to the kitchen. He rinsed his mug and set it on a rack to dry. The sound of running water was soft and steady. Emily watched him move quietly in the small space. He seemed comfortable here, alone in his routines. She stood up and joined him. She rinsed her mug too. Their elbows almost touched, but neither stepped away. She dried her mug with a small towel. She noticed the silence between them felt normal now, not forced or awkward. "I'm going to head out soon," she said. "If I go, I need to catch a bus, or I might have to walk a bit. Either way, I should leave before it gets too late." Michael turned off the tap. "Do you want me to walk you to the bus stop?" he asked. Emily thought about it. "That would be nice," she said. "Thanks." They returned to the living room. She put on her jacket and buttoned it up. She checked her phone again. No new messages. Her heart beat faster as she imagined stepping into her parents' home after so long. She looked at Michael. "I don't know how to thank you," she said. "Tonight helped me realize some things. I needed this, even if it was uncomfortable." He slipped on his coat and zipped it. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "We just shared a quiet evening. It's no big deal." Emily's throat tightened slightly. "It means something to me," she said. "I was hiding. I guess now I'm ready to try." Her voice was flat, but honest. Michael nodded, then opened the door. They stepped into the hallway and made their way downstairs. The building felt quiet. Outside, the air was cold. The streetlights cast long shadows on the sidewalk. Emily pulled her collar up, bracing against the chill. They headed toward the bus stop at the corner. She could see a few people waiting there. The bus sign glowed in the distance. Cars passed with headlights shining across the pavement. As they approached, Emily stopped for a moment. She turned to Michael. "If I see you at work after the holidays, maybe we can talk sometimes," she said. "I'll try harder." He nodded. "Sure," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." She managed a small smile. The bus arrived, its doors hissing open. She stepped on, turned back, and waved once. Michael raised his hand in a simple gesture. The doors closed, and the bus pulled away. Emily found a seat and stared out the window. She saw Michael's figure fading behind her. She focused on the road ahead, unsure of what she would find at her parents' house. But at least she was moving forward. Emily sat near the window as the bus moved through quiet streets. The seats were mostly empty. She heard a couple in the back whispering about a movie they had just seen. She tried not to eavesdrop. Instead, she watched houses pass by. Many had Christmas lights glowing on front porches. Her phone rested in her hand. She had told her mother she might come. She had not promised anything firm. The idea of walking up those familiar steps still made her tense. Her fingers tapped lightly on the phone's screen, as if waiting for some kind of signal. After a few minutes, the bus stopped at an intersection. A few passengers stepped off. Emily considered doing the same, but it was still too far. She stayed put and watched the traffic lights change colors. She felt the weight of the conversation she had with Michael. She had admitted her wrongdoing, her fear, and her desire to face her past. Now it was time to act on it. The bus continued on, stopping every so often to let people on or off. Emily saw a woman carrying a wrapped gift board the bus and sit 2 rows ahead. She smelled perfume and winter coats. The driver hummed to himself when the bus was empty between stops. Eventually, the bus approached the neighborhood where Emily's parents lived. It had been a long time since she had come here. She pulled the cord, and the driver nodded, understanding she wanted the next stop. As the vehicle slowed, Emily's heart rate sped up. She stood, holding the pole to steady herself. She stepped off onto the sidewalk. The air was cold and still. She heard distant laughter from somewhere down the street. The houses here looked familiar, though a bit older. She recognized a large oak tree near the corner house. It was dark, but a streetlight helped her see enough to confirm she was in the right place. Emily took a few steps, then stopped. The idea of showing up unannounced made her stomach twist. She checked her phone. No messages. She paced a little, rubbing her hands together. She remembered how Michael said she wouldn't know if things changed until she tried. She remembered how he didn't push her, just reminded her that staying still solves nothing. She found a low wall near the sidewalk and sat down for a moment. She dialed her mother's number again and listened to it ring. This time, her mother answered quickly. "Emily, are you close?" her mother asked, her voice tight but not angry. Emily swallowed. "I got off the bus near your place," she said. "I'm thinking of coming over. I'm just a minute or two away, I think." Her mother sounded relieved. "We're here," she said. "Just come in. The door's open. We're in the living room." Emily nodded, even though her mother couldn't see her. "Okay," she said. "I'll be there soon." She ended the call and stood up. Her legs felt stiff. She took a deep breath. She walked slowly along the sidewalk, counting the houses until she reached the one she remembered as home. There it was, looking mostly the same. Small front steps, a simple wreath on the door, a light on in the living room window. She paused at the gate, noticing her own reflection in the window glass. She looked tired. She raised her hand to touch her face, feeling the cold skin of her cheeks. For a second, she imagined turning around and leaving. She imagined walking away, going back to the bus stop, and riding home. She could hide out in her apartment and forget all of this. But then she remembered sitting in Michael's apartment, feeling ashamed and trapped. She had admitted things to him that she never admitted to anyone. It would be pointless to run now. She climbed the steps and reached for the door handle. The metal felt chilly. She pushed the door open. Warm air met her face. She smelled something cooking, maybe chicken or roast vegetables. Inside, the living room lights were on. There was a small tree in the corner, decorated with a few ornaments. It was quiet except for the soft hum of a heater. Emily stepped inside and closed the door behind her. She heard movement in the kitchen. Her mother appeared first, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her father stood behind her, arms folded, uncertain. They looked at Emily, and she looked at them. No one yelled, no one rushed forward to hug. They just stood there, unsure of what to say. Emily cleared her throat. Her voice came out in a low tone. "I'm here," she said simply. "I thought I'd come by." Her mother nodded, eyes a bit shiny. "We're glad you did," she said, voice quiet. Her father managed a nod too, not smiling, but not frowning either. Emily took a step forward and eased out of her jacket. She hung it on a coat hook near the door. She moved toward the living room, feeling her parents' eyes on her. She sat on the edge of the couch, hands clasped tight. Her mother sat in a chair opposite her. Her father remained standing, then slowly took a seat as well. No one seemed to know how to break the tension. Emily considered a small comment about the food or the tree. Instead, she just stayed still, waiting for words to come. At least she had made it this far. She was here. in the place she once considered full of bad memories. Now, it was just a room with furniture and people who might have changed, or might not have. She would find out soon enough. Emily sat on the edge of the couch, her hands folded in her lap. Her mother sat across from her, shoulders tense. Her father rested his elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. The television was off, and the only sound was a clock ticking somewhere in the house. Her mother cleared her throat first. "How have you been?" she asked, keeping her voice even. Emily shrugged. "I've been okay," she said. "I work in finance now. It's a small firm." Her father nodded, not looking up yet. "That's good," he said quietly. Emily rubbed her palms together. She noticed the small Christmas tree in the corner. It was modest, with a few lights and basic ornaments. "The tree looks nice," she said, trying to ease the tension. Her mother managed a faint smile. "I didn't do much this year," she said. "We weren't sure if anyone was coming by." Emily pressed her lips together. "Yeah," she said. "I'm sorry I stayed away for so long." Her mother lowered her gaze. "We know," she said. "We know the holidays were never easy here." Emily took a slow breath. "They weren't," she said plainly. She glanced at her father. He finally raised his head and met her eyes. She saw uncertainty in them. He looked tired. He shifted in his seat. "I know you remember all those fights," he said. His voice sounded strained. "I'm not proud of that." He paused. "Things have calmed down. We don't yell like that anymore." Emily nodded, feeling her heart thump. "That's good to hear," she said. "I didn't know. I never asked." Her mother leaned forward, resting her elbows on her knees. "We tried to change after you left," she said. "We didn't want to keep living like that. It took time, but we made some changes." Emily swallowed. She felt her shoulders relax slightly. "I'm glad," she said. "I guess I assumed it would always be the same." She looked around the room. The furniture was familiar, but maybe the mood was different now. Her father rubbed his hands together. "We never heard from you much," he said. "We weren't sure if you'd ever come back for the holidays." Emily nodded. "I was scared," she said. "I kept thinking about the past. I avoided you because I didn't want to feel that way again." She heard her own voice, steady and low, just stating facts. Her mother gave a small sigh. "We understand," she said. "It hurt that you stayed away, but we know we gave you reasons to be afraid." Emily ran her fingers over the seam of the couch cushion. "Maybe I should have asked you if things changed," she said. "But I didn't. I just stayed away and assumed the worst." Her father leaned back and crossed his arms. "We did try to reach out a few times," he said, "but we never pushed hard. We weren't sure if you wanted to hear from us." Emily nodded. "I got your messages sometimes," she said. "I guess I didn't trust them." She decided to be honest. "I thought you were just pretending, or I thought you'd be disappointed in me." Her mother frowned slightly. "Disappointed? Why?" she asked. Emily shrugged. "I don't know," she said. "Because I never came back. Because I'm not living some perfect life. I'm alone most of the time. I don't have a big social circle. I barely visited." She paused. "I guess I worried you'd judge me for that." Her father shook his head. "We're not judging you," he said. "We're just glad you're here now." Her mother nodded slowly. "We're not proud of the old times," she said. "We tried to do better. It's not perfect, but we don't want to be those people anymore." Emily listened. She heard no raised voices, no insults, no harsh tones, just calm statements. She was still on edge, but less so. "I believe you," she said quietly. I'm sorry I made assumptions. Her mother stood up slowly. Do you want something to eat? She asked. I have some leftovers. Nothing fancy, but you're welcome to it. Emily hesitated, then nodded. Sure, she said. I could eat a little. Her mother stepped out to the kitchen. Emily and her father remained in the living room. He looked at her carefully. I'm sorry for what happened when you were young, he said. I'm sorry for the way we fought. It was wrong. Emily's throat felt tight, but she didn't cry. She just nodded. Thank you, she said. I needed to hear that. He cleared his throat. I'm not good with words, he said, but I'm trying. Emily accepted that. It's okay, she said. We're both trying. They sat quietly until her mother returned with a small plate of roast chicken and potatoes. Emily took it gratefully. The smell was comforting. She took a bite. The food was warm, salty, and plain, but good. She chewed slowly, letting the silence settle. Her mother took a seat in the chair. Her father remained where he was. Emily focused on her plate. She felt the tension easing. The house looked normal, the people calm. She didn't feel like a child trapped in a shouting match. She felt like an adult visiting family after a long absence. After a few bites, Emily spoke again. I don't know what happens next, she said. I'm not here to promise anything big, but I wanted to try tonight. That's why I came. Her mother nodded. We're just glad you came, she said. We don't expect everything to be perfect now. Her father looked at the window, then back at Emily. You don't have to stay long if you're uncomfortable, he said. We understand this might be hard. Emily took another bite, swallowed, and nodded. I appreciate that, she said. Maybe I'll just stay a bit, talk a little more, and then go home. Is that okay? Her mother managed a small smile. Of course, she said. Stay as long as you like, or leave whenever you need to. We're not going anywhere. Emily finished her plate and set it down on the coffee table. She brushed off her hands on her jeans. The quiet felt different now. It felt neutral, not threatening. She glanced at the tree again. The lights were steady, no blinking, just glowing. She felt tired, but not upset. She had not known what to expect, but this was not bad. It was calm and direct. She preferred calm to chaos. They made small talk for a while. Her mother asked about her job again. Emily gave short answers, explaining her daily tasks. Her father asked if she ever went out with co-workers. She shrugged, admitting she mostly kept to herself. They didn't judge. They just listened. After some time, Emily stood up and stretched her arms. I think I'll head home, she said. I'm glad I came. I feel better now. Her parents nodded. Her mother got up and gave a small nod. Not a hug, not pushing anything. Her father stood too, keeping a respectful distance. Emily understood they were being careful, letting her set the pace. She put on her jacket and moved to the door. She turned back. Maybe I'll try again sometime, she said. Not tomorrow, but sometime. Her mother smiled. We'd like that, she said. Her father said nothing, but gave a short nod. Emily opened the door and stepped outside. The cold air hit her face, and she breathed in slowly. As she walked away from the house, she felt lighter. Emily walked away from her parents' house, stepping onto the sidewalk. It was late, and the street was quiet. A few cars passed slowly. She could see her breath in the cold air. She zipped her jacket and looked at her phone, checking for the next bus. There would be one soon. Heading back toward her apartment, she decided to wait at the corner. As she stood at the bus stop, she noticed a man across the street locking up a small store. He waved to someone inside, then turned off the lights. Emily watched him fumble with his keys, then walk away. The street light overhead buzzed faintly. She felt a dull ache in her shoulders, but it was not painful, just a reminder of the tension from earlier. The bus came a few minutes later. She stepped on and paid the fare. Only a handful of passengers were inside. Most looked tired and ready to get home. She found a seat near the middle and settled in. The engine rumbled, and the bus pulled away from the curb. Emily leaned her head back, staring at the ceiling. She did not feel happy or sad, just steady. She replayed the conversation with her parents in her mind. They had not argued. They had acknowledged the past without yelling or pointing fingers. She had eaten some food, talked a little, and left on her own terms. It was more than she had expected. She knew it would take time to feel completely comfortable around them. But she had taken the first step, and it had not been a disaster. The bus made several stops. People got on and off. A woman carrying a gift bag sat down briefly before leaving 2 stops later. Emily looked out the window, noticing the holiday lights in some windows. She thought about Michael. She remembered sitting in his apartment, sharing instant noodles and hot chocolate. She remembered admitting that she had judged him and never bothered to know him. He had accepted her apology without anger. In a way, talking to Michael had prepared her for talking to her parents. Both situations required honesty and facing uncomfortable truths. She had managed both. It was not glamorous or exciting, but it was real. She glanced at her reflection in the window. Her face looked calm. The bus finally neared her neighborhood. She pulled the cord, stood up, and stepped down onto the sidewalk. The street here was quieter than near her parents' place. Few people were out at this hour. She walked slowly, passing familiar buildings and storefronts. The cold air stung her cheeks, but she felt awake and aware. When she reached her apartment building, she entered the lobby and climbed the stairs. The light in the hallway flickered once, then steadied. She unlocked her door and stepped inside. The apartment felt as empty as ever, but it did not bother her as much now. She hung her jacket, took off her shoes, and walked to the small kitchen. She turned on the tap and poured herself a glass of water. The water tasted plain, but it refreshed her. She stood in the quiet, listening to the slight hum of her refrigerator. She realized she had faced 2 uncomfortable realities tonight: the way she treated Michael and the way she avoided her family. Neither confrontation had broken her. She had survived both and felt stronger for it. Emily set her glass down and turned on a small lamp near her bed. The soft light illuminated the bare walls, the old furniture, and the plain sheets. Nothing had changed about her living space, but she felt different. She took out her phone and scrolled through her messages. There were no new ones from her parents. She had not given them a reason to text again tonight. That was fine. She had said what needed to be said. She also wondered if she should contact Michael again, maybe after the holiday. Not tonight, of course. Tonight was late, and there was no need to push anything. But after the holiday break, maybe she would say hello at work, or invite him for a coffee in the break room. She did not have to be his best friend, but she could treat him like a human being. That was a start. She washed her face in the bathroom sink, dried it with a small towel, and changed into more comfortable clothes. She sat on her bed, back against the wall, and stared at the opposite side of the room. The silence no longer felt oppressive. It was just quiet. She focused on her breathing. Nothing dramatic happened now. She had done the hard part earlier. She grabbed her phone again and thought about sending a short message to her mother, just to say she got home safely. She typed it out. "Got home. Thanks for tonight." She hesitated, then hit send. She doubted her mother would reply now, but it did not matter. She wanted to let them know she was okay. She placed the phone on the bedside table and lay down. Her pillow felt cool under her head. Her body felt heavy, but not in a bad way. More like she had carried something for a long time and finally put it down. She thought about the future, but only briefly. One step at a time was enough. She closed her eyes for a moment, listening to the hum of the apartment building, the faint sound of pipes or a distant elevator. She had faced old fears and confronted her own faults. She had taken a risk by going to Michael's place and by returning to her parents' house. Both risks had led to quiet, steady moments of understanding. That was more than she had dared to hope for when the night began. Eventually, she reached over and turned off the lamp. The room went dark. She let her mind go blank. She would rest now. Tomorrow was another day, and nothing needed to be rushed. She had found a way forward. That was enough. Emily woke up early. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet. She remembered the night before, the conversations she had, and the steps she took. She felt calm. She pushed off the blankets and got up. The floor was cold under her feet. She walked to the bathroom, washed her face, and brushed her teeth without hurrying. Her apartment still looked the same. The same worn furniture, the same bare walls. But she did not feel the same heaviness she usually felt in the mornings. She got dressed and made herself a cup of plain coffee. She did not have anything special for breakfast, just a piece of bread. She ate standing up in the kitchen, checking her phone for messages. There was one from her mother. "Glad you got home safe. Good night." It was short, but Emily appreciated it. She replied, "Thanks. Talk later." She left it at that. No need for more right now. After finishing her coffee, she sat on the small couch with her phone in hand. It was Christmas morning. She had no big plans. The office was closed. The streets outside were probably quiet. She considered walking around the neighborhood, but it was cold, and she felt comfortable here. Maybe she would go out later. She thought about Michael. She did not have his number. She could have asked last night, but it felt unnecessary. She would see him at work after the holiday break. She could say hello then. She could ask him about his night, maybe thank him again for letting her stay. She had no reason to hide behind a mask anymore. Emily turned on the TV, kept the volume low, and watched a news anchor report on various holiday events. She saw images of people volunteering at shelters and families opening gifts. She did not feel jealous or left out. She just watched calmly. She checked the time. It was still early. She had the entire day ahead. She thought about what to do. She could clean her apartment a bit. Maybe pick up some groceries if any store was open. She could call an old friend from high school who lived nearby. She had not spoken to that friend in months, maybe years. But today she felt more willing to make small efforts. The silence in the apartment did not bother her. She sipped water and stared out the window. The street below was mostly empty. A few cars rolled by slowly. A person walked a dog, hands in pockets, moving at a relaxed pace. Emily watched them until they disappeared from view. She stood up and checked her closet. She had a warm scarf and gloves. If she went outside later, she would wear them. She had no pressing errands, but fresh air might feel nice. She could just walk without a destination, see people enjoying the holiday, and not feel strange about being alone. Emily scrolled through her phone's contacts. She hovered over her mother's number, but she had already exchanged messages. No need to push it. She scrolled to some old co-workers' numbers. She did not feel a strong desire to call them, but maybe after the new year, she would meet someone for coffee. Baby steps. For now, she enjoyed the quiet. She realized that last night had changed something in her. She had confronted what she feared. She had spoken to her parents without anger. She had owned up to her past behavior toward Michael and understood his perspective. She had discovered that facing the truth was better than running from it. Emily walked to the kitchen and rinsed her coffee cup. She dried it and placed it in the cupboard. She looked around. Maybe she could buy a small plant to brighten the room. Maybe next week she would rearrange the furniture. Just small changes. She checked her wallet. She had enough cash to pick up some groceries if a corner store was open. She decided to do that later. She would buy milk, bread, and maybe some vegetables. She would cook a simple meal tonight and enjoy it by herself, without feeling sorry about it. It would just be dinner. No drama. The TV kept playing softly in the background. She tuned it out, focusing on her own thoughts. She knew she had not solved all her problems. She was still a single woman in a small apartment, a person without a close circle of friends, and someone who had avoided her family for years. But now she understood that none of those facts were a life sentence. She could change her habits, talk to people more honestly, and take small steps toward better connections. Emily checked her phone once more. No new messages. That was fine. She left it on the coffee table and stood by the window again. The sky was cloudy, but the daylight was steady. She watched a delivery truck pass by, followed by a small car with a family inside, the kids pointing at something in the distance. She realized she was not anxious. She felt steady. Last night, she had been scared and guilty. She had feared rejection and painful memories. Now, she just felt normal. Tired, maybe, but not distressed. She had done what she needed to do. Facing her parents had not been easy, but it had not been catastrophic. Admitting her wrongs to Michael had not led to him mocking her, but to understanding. There was no storybook moment, just honest interactions. That was enough. Soon, she would leave the apartment, take a short walk, and pick up some supplies. Later, she might watch a movie or read something online. She might do some work on her laptop to get ahead for the week. The day was open, and she had no obligations that frightened her. Emily turned off the TV and stood in silence for a moment. She heard a neighbor's door close in the hallway. She felt hungry again, maybe for a piece of fruit. She walked to the kitchen and opened the fridge. She took out an apple and bit into it. The taste was crisp and plain, nothing special, but it was real, and it was hers. With that, she decided to get going. She had a day ahead to fill as she pleased. She slipped on her jacket, scarf, and gloves and headed out. The hallway smelled like old carpet and dust, but it did not bother her. She locked her door and walked down the stairs. Outside, the cold air hit her face. She looked around at the quiet street and started walking, no longer feeling trapped by old fears or regrets. She was free to choose what came next. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Just click on the screen.